What's up, guys? This is Ethan again from In the Blind. It is Friday, July 9th at 6:30, and I'm headed over to Mark Buzzles, who owns Nor'easter Game Calls. I've gone over to his shop a couple times since I did my senior project duck call, and he's been featured in the videos. I've featured some of his calls and done some tests and tunes for him and helped him out a little bit in the shop here and there. But I've been wanting to do this episode for a while now, getting an interview in with him, ask him how he started the business and what's upcoming for 2021 hunting season and all that good stuff. So we're currently headed over there right now. This is going to be season 2, episode 5 of In the Blind. I still have decals left. If anyone would like one, shoot me a message. But here we go, episode 5, featuring the owner of Nor'easter Game Calls. All right, I've arrived here over at the Nor'easter Game Calls shop with Mark. Getting ready to do an interview here. Walking into the office. These are where all the calls are. He also has his own knife business, MAB Custom Knives. All those that you see there. So we're getting ready for an interview. What's upcoming in the 2021 season. All right, so we're here with Mark Buzzle, owner of Nor'easter Game Calls since 2011. And when did you get started, Mark, doing this, and what was the idea behind it?
It started in just around 2009 to 2010 when I purchased a duck call offline from a big box store. It was I think it was like $89 back then, which is quite a bit of money, and I had them expedite ship on the call. And when the call got here, it ended up being just a complete wreck. It doesn't sound like any duck that's in any of the states I've hunted. So I kind of got upset and called them, and it was just a big rig around to try to get it back. They didn't want it back because I used it, and it's kind of foolish. So I started watching videos online on how to build my own call. I figured if I build my own, I can control how it sounds, what it's made out of. So I did a bunch of videos and started like anybody else, just turning the barrels and using another company's insert by just putting the insert into the call. And then once that flourished and started building my first one, I get into all the other calls, the deer grunt calls and the turkey calls, and then of course, coyotes and everything. So if you can hunt it, I pretty much make a call for it. So that's how it kind of started, with me being very disappointed with a big box store selling a call that I didn't like at all.
So it's pretty crazy that this small business started by just buying a call that really didn't sound all that good, and the ones you make now are just outstanding sound, and they look just as pretty as they sound. So let's go take a look at some of those. All right, so we're traveling over here to the Nor'easter Game Calls workbench, and Mark's going to show us some of the different calls he's made over the years.
All right, basically just a small assembly of some of the calls. So this is Cinca Cypress with Alumilite resin, and what happens is it starts like this. It's just a block, and then it's drilled and put on the lathe, and then I hand turn each and every single one of them, and then of course do the custom tuning as well. We make our own reeds. The soundboard and everything is done right here in the shop. This is a copy of one of my soundboards that I like. Same thing with the grunt calls. If it has a soundboard and a reed, I cut the reeds and I do the soundboards. Right down to the inside, this is a goose call. So that's my soundboard. That's my reed that I cut. And there's the O-rings. So everything's done right here in the shop, so I can control everything that happens with the call, how it sounds, what it's supposed to sound like. If I have an issue, I can call Ethan here and have him come over and help me if I don't quite get it right. This one's made out of mammoth ivory. That's in the Alumilite resin. And that's a pretty call as well. It's kind of unique to have something in the duck blind that's got mammoth ivory that's 10 to 20,000 years old. This is tortoise shell. It's reconstituted. It's a kind of a fake stone. And that's a pretty call. Again, as I was talking about getting started, when I first started, all I would make is this part. I would turn this all on the lathe by myself, get it all finished up, put my band on it, and use a sticker on the band. Then I would buy an insert from another company so that I didn't have to do any tuning or anything. It's already done for me because I didn't know how to do this part. And then put it in the call, and there's your duck call. And then as time went on, I wanted to make sure that I can control the whole thing, which means you got to make the whole thing. So as I'm doing the duck calls, I can control it all by, I'm going to make it myself. So I'll have my poured soundboard, my wedge, my cut reed. So now it's all mine 100%. The only thing I have to buy are O-rings and this piece right here, which is the new call band that has the Nor'easter logo engraved in it. All right, so I also do, like where I was saying before, if you can hunt it, I try to make a call for it. Mappa burl and Alumilite resin, stabilized wood. I do all my stabilization myself on my wood, and I also buy it pre-stabilized. Stabilization process is important on game calls because they're going to be out in the weather. And what that stabilization does is it puts an acrylic resin inside of the wood, all the way through it penetrates, so that if you are getting wet or water gets on the call, it's sealed, so that it won't go in and destroy the call. So that's really important when you're buying a duck call from somebody else other than myself, that you ask that question, make sure that the wood, if it's made out of wood, is stabilized. The acrylics that are 100% acrylic, it does not matter. It's already like a plastic, so you don't have any concerns. So again, this one's a coyote call, open reed. We got the crow calls, that's Cholla cactus, again stabilized, and then it's cast in blood red Alumilite resin. My band, of course, this is an insert that I do purchase. I don't make that insert. And then we've got the little rabbit squealer for a coyote, Cholla burl, what they call Cholla cactus. And then it's in that blood red resin as well.
So it's pretty crazy, just gonna jump in here, it's pretty crazy that you can add stuff like mammoth ivory, real tortoise shell, different types of cactuses to all these calls and make them sound as good as they do, and they look just friggin' beautiful.
Yeah, they do. They comes out really well, and that's what these molds are for. That's where I'll put the wood or the cactus or whatever, and I'll get them down this mold, then I'll do my pour. Then they go in the pressure pot, and they put into here under about 70 psi. That'll push the air bubbles out, make sure that that acrylic resin goes into everything, so that, you know, if you want a call that's going to have some wood and some resin, that's pretty much what you'll end up with when it's all said and done. So that's that Mappa burl again, with some highlights. That's the mica powder that you can actually paint on with a little tiny paintbrush. It'll stick to the wood, and then you can pour your resin. So you can do some really unique stuff with the resin. It's really limitless on what you can do. And again, making it out of different materials. This is out of surfite. That's a material that when they're making surfboards, this is the resin that falls off the table, and it keeps stacking on the floor, and then they break it off the floor, and you can actually buy it in chunks and make stuff out of it. So it's basically just fiberglass. The top of it's a ebony burl. So again, it's pretty much the line of calls. This is the grunt calls that pretty much everybody knows me by. All
right, so plenty here, obviously, in the Nor'easter Game Call shop. All kinds of ways to make different cool stuff. We're now going to transition over to the deer grunt calls. All right, so what do we got upcoming for the 2021 deer season?
2021 is going to be the Outdoor Drive podcast, outdoor series, adjustable deer grunt call. Again, I make everything that's on here, I make myself. The only thing I have to buy is, again, that little O-ring and the band. Other than that, everything is done right here in the shop. It's just better that way. I have control over it. I had a few issues trying to get supplies because I was buying this little piece of brass. Now it's all made right here in the shop. I make the thumb stud myself. This is all bent right here in the shop. Again, pour my own soundboard, my own wedge, cut my own reeds. The tube is manufactured for me by a company. It took me a long time to get the length of the tube, how many ridges, how hard or soft it was. So that's pretty much made for me only. And again, this is just a adjustable grunt call that's going to be ready to go. This is parts and pieces, believe it or not. This is all the corners that were cut off these square blocks. Because I always cut the corners off before I put it on the lathe just for safety reasons. And I put the corners in the mold and poured them in a resin.
Pretty sweet looking call.
Yeah, they're awful good. And again, this slide is designed so that you can go from a doe bleat all the way down to a swamp buck. I mean, it's really easy to do while you're in the blind. So you basically, on a doe bleat, and then you can just stick your thumb, give it a slide so that it's doe bleat, buck grunt. And it's all flexible tubing so that you can crush it really easy. If you want to change the tone, you can stretch it and change it. That's what's important about this compared to plastic. It doesn't make any noise because it's rubber, but there's so much adjustability in these grunt calls, and that's why so many people are using them now. Because again, it's amazing what just turning the grunt call will do on your sounds in with your hands. So you can, if you watch what I'll do for just a buck grunt, so we'll go down again. That's straight. So that's just from collapsing the end of the hose and then just turning it, because the same thing a deer will do. This is going to mimic his windpipe, and that's what I designed it after, so that you can turn it like he would if he's grunting. And again, this is all for the Outdoor Drive podcast series. Each one of these is stabilized, double or single dyed box elder burl. It's a very unique wood. It takes dye very well. It stabilizes well. This particular wood came out of Boise, Idaho. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So this is going to be probably a one-off series for this year. We're going to try to keep them priced just like all the other calls at $69. The sound chamber itself is made out of Coca-Cola wood on each one of them. And again, that's hand turned by me. That starts as a square and it's all hand turned, drilled out. So again, I get to control how each one of these sound before they go out. So that's pretty much what you're here with me tonight to do, is to kind of go over all of these, make sure everything, all the slides are perfect. They all have a safety O-ring. When I first started, I didn't do that O-ring. And some guys, they get a little aggressive, and I don't know how they do it, but they'll do this in the blind, and this piece will pop out. Well, that disappears, and it falls down on the ground, and we got trouble. So again, I don't know how they do it. Maybe it gets bounced around in their pack and it gets loose, but you can push these in. This band will keep it from splitting, so you can really get after these and shove them in there, and the slide should adjust nice and smoothly. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go over them, get them listed on the website for sale, make sure everything sounds great. These all come with a custom storage bag. They'll come with a Nor'easter Game Call sticker as well, and a free lanyard. So every call that's purchased, you'll have your lanyard ready to go, and obviously the sticker and this little storage pouch that you can keep it in when you're not using it.
All right, so as Mark just showed all these, try finding a deer call cooler looking and better sounding than this, and you won't. So go to nor'eastergamecalls.com and buy one of these deer calls.
All right, so there are other calls other than just the Outdoor Drive podcast. This is deep wood resin, moss, in resin. So that's real moss right out of the woods, cast in resin. This is a pine cone, cast in resin. More hemlock pine cones and cedar pine cones down in here. So there's a lot to choose from on the website, not just those calls. And again, they're all controlled by me. This is going to be Blood Series. That's going to be for Obsession TV. We did prickly pear cactus and resin. Make it look like there's kind of veins inside of that blood resin. And this is going to be a special run for them. And again, everything's all cast right here in the shop. And again, these come as a square block. I cast them in here, and then I turn them down to this. So again, it's got me handling it from start to finish. So there are a bunch more calls in there. Also, every one of my calls, if you buy it from me, it's warranted for life. So if it breaks for any reason, you just let me know. Reach out to me on Instagram, or you can get a hold of me through the website. There's an email where it says contact us. Just click on that. Let me know there's an issue. I'll take great care of it for you and get it shipped right back to you. There's a ton of stuff on the website. I even this is made by me as well. This is a scent eliminator. If you spray it on your cameras or whatever, it will not leave white spots. You'll swear to God it's water, but it's not. Again, I try to use the ozone. I don't care for the ozone that they have. I just don't like the smell of it. It kind of makes me ill, basically. I feel like I'm going to get hit by lightning every time I put on clothes that have done it. But it works well. Problem being is, you run into your stand, let's say September bow hunting, that you end up sweating getting to the stand. Well, now you stink.
Right.
You can use this just as a deodorant. Spray yourself with it. Spray your hat. Spray your hair. And this will eliminate it 100%. So like you said, go on the website. All the calls are there. Again, we do the turkey pot calls here. I'll pour them on a resin. That one's got the glass over glass. And again, with the resin, we can do wood inside the resin. And this is the thin series. As you can see, it's a little different thickness. So there's no soundboard in my thin series. So any questions or whatever, you can always reach out to me on the website, or you can get a hold of Ethan, and he can tell you how to get a hold of me as well, right off his YouTube channel. So check everything out on the website, and we'll have a bunch of stuff on there for you to purchase.
All right, while I'm listing all the new deer calls on the website, Mark, what are you doing over here?
I'm actually making one right now. Filling a couple of little boys that were in it. This is one of those pieces and parts calls that you fell in love with, and I'm actually making it for you. So you can see these are all the different pieces from those calls that are locked inside of that Lumelite resin.
I like it.
So it's coming along pretty good. We get a little more finish work to do. Then we'll do all the hand sanding and then the finishing, and then we still have to do the tone barrel. But so far, so good.
Looks pretty nice. Can't wait to call in a big buck with it. All right, it's 11:13. We have our finished product here with the parts and pieces call, my new grunt call that Mark just finished making. Look at how pretty that came out. Some great colors in there. Sweet looking call. And again, these are the corners that he chopped off the box elder burl deer calls. A corner from each of those calls. Very, very pretty call.
And it sounds just as good as it looked. Get a doe bleat. And then we get a buck grunt. And it's fully adjustable. Ready to rock and roll for the season.
Awesome job.
There you go, bud.
All right, just another thanks to Mark Buzzell at Nor'easter Game Calls. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of In the Blind. It was a lot of fun interviewing Mark and getting a new deer call. That was very nice of Mark to make that for me. Definitely love it. Can't wait to call in hopefully some of these in the October-November deer season. So thanks again for watching In the Blind. Stay tuned for episode 6. Hit that like and subscribe and visit nor'eastergamecalls.com to purchase any of his calls.